So you have one of these, but what you want is one of these. Popularized in movies and made infamous by gangsters, the Italian stiletto is the granddaddy automatic, but there's a whole world of automatics out there. And in this episode of What Knife Should I Buy, we're going to be talking about OTFs, side automatics, as well as spring assist, and show you a variety of firing mechanisms. So let's get in there and check out some steel. Hey Tyson.
Hey Mark.
Timote.
Mark.
All right, we're back with the two original customer service guys to help us out today with automatics. So Tyson, what are we talking about when we're talking about an automatic? How's that different from a folding knife?
Basically it just deploys automatically. It's got a spring in it, and it's usually deployed using some sort of trigger or mechanism, such as this guy right here, a little push button. So you see is when I hit that, whips open, that's it, deploys automatically. And that's pretty much, automatics.
Okay. Now where I get confused is spring assisted knives. I know that's similar, there's a spring involved, but how is that different from an automatic?
Sure. So right here we have an example, spring assisted blade, where as I push upward on the blade, a spring engages, where it's a little bit different from the automatic where we just push a button. We actually have to help the blade go up until that spring engages and releases it.
All right, so on automatic, you're pressing a button, the spring does everything for you. Where on a spring assist, you're helping the blade out.
You're always physically manipulating the blade itself with spring assist. That's how they're clarified. Either through a flipper like that or through a thumb stud. There's no trigger or mechanism that's going to release it. It's just assisting you.
All right, so if I want to get an automatic, what are my options? What are the categories or types that are available to me?
Well, first one, you got your side opening automatics, just much like a normal folding knife, except for automatic. Just comes out the side. It's just doing it automatically for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we have our out the fronts. They're pretty cool. So essentially all you're going to do is press up on that firing slide and the blade's going to shoot from the front of the knife.
All right. Now I know that on the sides, mostly you find that push button or that plunge lock. Maybe you could talk about that.
Yeah, the plunge lock's actually your firing mechanism as well. And basically, you can see there, or if you can, there's basically on this thing there's a post underneath this, and there's a larger part on the bottom that sits in a notch on the blade. So when this is depressed, that fatter part goes down, flush with the other side of the handle, which allows the blade to fire out, and then it locks in again. It's the same way to disengage it. You just push that plunger part down, and then fold the knife back. And then
we have another example right here. This is a lever. All I'm going to do is lift up and then press it. It releases that blade, and then it's kind of the same premise. I'm going to press down again, and it releases the blade so we can lock it back into place.
We've also got on the wilder side of things, like a lot of them will depress using hidden release, like in the scales or the bolsters. So this one, I'm actually just going to slide to the right. This piece right here, it's going to come out. If you get a close up there, you can actually see by that slides that way. And I'm going to do the same thing to close the blade as well. Another one here is actually what they call a dual action, because it has two actions. You could say you can use it as a manual with your typical liner lock there, or with the hidden scale release here, just like on this one, you can slide it to the right and deploy it as an auto.
So we have some other knives over here. This is actually the out the front that we talked about earlier. It's a double action knife. Runs on a track system inside where the blade is actually running on that track. It guides it up and back down. Has two springs in it. The first one, if we push up on this firing slide, it fires the blade out, and then as we pull back, that second spring engages and it pulls the knife back into the handle. Kind of cool, fun to play with. The other thing that's cool is the noise that it makes all the time.
Now that's a double action you said, so is there a single action out the front?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. So we have a single action knife right here. Same premise, it has a spring in it, runs on a track as well. As I fire the knife, it comes out. The difference is, kind of like the plunge lock, we have to press the button again, and there's this charging handle here we're going to pull back on, and it resets the blade for us.
Okay.
Another example out the front, or a single action out the front, is the Halo 5. It's same thing. We're going to press that button. If you see, that's the notch where the plunge actually sits in these. You'll see it on the Tonto versions as well. And then you just depress it again and pull back on the charging handle to prepare to fire again.
Okay. Now I know a lot of people worry about safety with automatics. Maybe you can address some of those. I know a lot have a locking mechanism that lock the buttons into place. So.
Yeah, most of them, it's just a little slide lock like this, and all it's really doing is it's just making it so that, you know, can't be depressed, you know, so it won't fire. And then a lot of other ones, like a lot of Protex and Piranhas, they don't have safeties, but their buttons are real recessed into the handles. So, I mean, if I try to hit it with the flat part of my thumb, I usually can't get it to deploy, you know, as if it was in your pocket. But if you really get in there, it's easy. So they kind of make it so you gotta, you know where that button is.
The out the fronts are a little bit different. They don't have a safety on them. There's a lot of play in most of the out the fronts that we offer. There's a lot of play in the thumb slide. So I mean, if it does, you know, get bumped in your pocket, something like that, it tends to not just automatically fire. The other kind of the nice part about it is if that blade's coming out because it runs on that track system, generally if it comes out in your pocket or is pushed up against something, it'll come off track and it won't allow the blade to fire out all the way.
Okay, and then you just reset it?
And just reset it. Yeah, you can just...
Here.
So if the blade comes off track, whereas it comes out in your pocket, it's moving freely here, we can just pull it out and it locks it back into place. And then we can just pull it back and it's back to working again.
Some people have ideas that they're just gonna push through anything, and it's not the case.
Something to note though is because it comes off track, it still has a really strong locking mechanism. So if you do happen to put it into something, it's not gonna just come off track.
Okay. All right, so wrapping up here, what are some of the pros and cons with having an automatic?
Oh, the cons definitely be they're most definitely not legal in a lot of the places in this country, or you know, a lot of other countries, I'm sure. The other con is that they can be very expensive. You know, you're usually paying a pretty premium price for all those, you know, internal working components, which is also kind of the last con for me, and that is just that, you know, when you got a spring, you know, wedged into your pivot, and you've only got a little plunger, you know, being held in a little notch of the blade, you know, you do just sacrifice a little bit of your lockup strength. So it's definitely not something you want to bug out in the woods with for, you know, a weekend. It's more of a convenient type product.
Sure, and then some of the pros that you have, you know, like we explained earlier, super fast deployment. Retraction is really easy with the single-handed or the out the fronts. You know, like we said, super easy to deploy. The other thing is they're really cool around your friends and they sound good.
All right. Well, if you're interested in picking up an automatic, check out some of these great recommendations. Say hello to my little friend.
Let's go kill Van Helsing. It's like a sword. This is the only automatic you need.
Ready? Let's compare size. You win.
You win.